Eric Bakker, naturopath from New Zealand. We're back talking about parasites. We just spoke about, what was the topic first? The first question was why most patients relapse after taking, parasite drugs. So we're going to go a bit deeper into it now. So we're going to talk about why the natural treatment is more effective for eradicating parasites, than the pharmaceutical approach. But most people get it wrong. Now let me explain to you why they get it wrong. Okay, it's easy to look at a parasite in your digestive system and say, I've got to get rid of it, it's got to go. Okay, we've been trained by the medical profession to see viruses and bacteria and and these sort of pathogens as the bad guy that needs taking out. Okay, so what do? We find a bullet or a gun or whatever we can, or in this case a drug, to take the bad guy out. It's not that simple. You're not just eradicating a parasite. When you take a treatment, you're creating major changes in the digestive system, significant changes. The more powerful the drug you use, the more significant the changes will occur. Not just for the parasite, because there are many side effects associated with parasitic treatment. The problem with very powerful drugs, which have a very singular linear action, is they also create quite a powerful situation of resistance with an organism. When you're using something like oregano oil or grapefruit seed extract or caprylic acid or a more natural compound, which is not pharmaceutical, it tends to be far more complex in nature, and it will have actions that are far deeper reaching than just a specific pharmaceutical drug, because this natural product is containing many more different natural factors in it. So it's going to really hit on this bug from various angles. It's going to create situations in your gut that the drug won't cause. The drug, I find, is too powerful in most cases, and unfortunately the collateral damage is significant. But most patients have this belief that all they need to do is take a parasitic drug and then that's it, the parasite's wiped out and they're back to normal. What they haven't figured on is the parasite has created quite a dynamic mess in their gut by that stage that they're going to the doctor and getting it treated. Generally there'll be lower levels of beneficial bacteria, there'll be inflammatory rates coming up. Some of the markers I see in the stool test are typical, like calprotectin or lysozyme. They'll be elevated. So enzymes are being secreted now by the immune system to clean up the mess. We're also getting an interesting factor happening, that the antibody, the secretory IgA, will start going up and up and up and up and even skyrocket. So all these things in the gut create incredible change in that environment. There's bacterial changes that occur. There are yeast changes that occur. So when we look at the six major classes of bacteria in the gut, lots of dynamic changes occur with the drug. So to take a drug by itself and expect it to do the action of a natural product, which is more complex and more rounded out, it's quite fallacious. It's quite a silly belief that one little silver bullet will take down a big problem. And usually it doesn't work like that. And you know that. You've probably been, if you're watching this video, you may have already tried one round of parasite treatment or several. What are you going to do? Keep going back again and again? You're just creating a more significant mess. So it doesn't really work for most people in the long run, because I find the damage is significant. Half my time I spend helping people to repair their digestive system that was trashed by pharmaceutical medications. And in fact, I could run a practice on antibiotics 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I could have 10 clinicians in my room and it still wouldn't be enough to deal with the carnage. So, and it's similar with parasite treatments. They're very powerful, they're strong, there's interesting effects there. So the natural treatment's more effective, I find, for several reasons. Particularly if you're looking at a product that contains many different herbs and factors in there that are going to work on multiple layers of dysfunction in the gut. Something that's going to help reduce inflammation, that's going to improve digestion, that's going to work on restoring gut function, meaning the beneficial bacteria. We're worried about bringing those back. So a natural treatment also tends to be more balanced. The protocol I've always recommended for parasites is lifestyle changes, diet changes, and a specific supplement which is targeting not just the parasite but also bacteria, remember, because Citrobacter or Klebsiella could start coming up, and likely they're already in a position where they're going up as the parasite drug's being taken. So you may have taken out a parasite, Entamoeba, Blastocystis, it may be gone, or you're reducing it, but meanwhile these other bacteria are there and they're taking off. Next thing, you relapse, you feel sick, the bowel still hasn't come right, you've got bloating or you've got other symptoms. You go back to the doctor and now you're given an antibiotic. Well, that's just shoving another nail into your gut. Basically, it's all it's doing. So antibiotics really trash the gut. I totally believe that one day these drugs will be entirely outlawed. They will not be allowed to be prescribed anymore. They're just too dangerous for the average person to take. The carnage is horrific on antibiotics. One of my patients took antibiotic for 3 years for tuberculosis. It's taken me 1.5 years now to get him up to about 80% health. Now this guy spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get well. That's just one of so many cases I've seen. Similar thing with parasite treatments. I've had many patients who've been to Africa or Asia and had multiple parasite treatments. And when I look at their stool test, it's an absolute mess. So long term, no good, these drugs, especially recurring. So the natural treatment, I don't find we have the same fallout or side effects whatsoever, particularly when the patient really looks at the Candida crusher dietary approach, which involves really eating, well, it's common sense, isn't it? It's basically healthy food. But I also talk a lot in my book and on my channel about stress, how that reduces immune function, how high cortisol has quite a bad effect on your white cell count. So if you want to have a powerful immune response, you need to eat the right foods and live the sufficient low stress lifestyle to really make a natural parasite treatment work ultimately. And when you understand that principle and incorporate that, you're going to really get a good result with a parasite treatment, regardless of how long you've had the bug. I've seen people with Giardia of 20 years duration get rid of it in 2 weeks. A true fact. It's the same with blastocystis. I've seen many patients get rid of blasto just by diet change, a few supplements containing things like oregano oil, grapefruit seed extract, and then slowly the count went down and they eradicated the bug. Don't let the doctors pull the wool over your eyes and let you know that blastocystis or other parasites now are supposed to be a normal part of the human microbiome. Because I know some doctors that actually now don't even treat parasites anymore, saying, well, everyone's got them, we're not going to worry about it. Well, if everybody was blind, deaf and dumb, would we not try and help those kind of people? If people had a broken leg, will we not try and help those people? Anybody who complains, has a health complaint, and puts up their hand needs help, regardless. So I hope this has given you some good information. So this may make you understand why your previous attempts to get rid of parasites didn't really work. Cheap supplements from iHerb, paying lip service to diet, having a high-stress job or relationship and not even thinking that that could have an influence on your immune function. Going back to the doctor recurrently expecting, you to get cured from these drugs. It's up to you, but generally that's a bit of an Alice in Wonderland kind of thinking, in my opinion. All right? So have a think about it. There's some information there for you to ponder on. If you really want to get rid of a parasite, you can do it. But think holistically about the treatment. And also remember the hammer. You don't want to have a really big hammer to crack something that doesn't need such amount of force put behind it. Thanks for tuning in.